Live and direct, you are tuned into the Bro Diallo Show, broadcasting straight out of the sanctuary hypocrisy that is the city of Chirac, the state of Illinois. If you're listening on the radio station or the website, I'm sorry I had some dead air there. I was playing, I had some stuff queued up and playing, but I didn't turn on the computer for the feed. So that's my oversight. And I apologize. Today is September 19th in the year of your Lord 2018. And let's see if we can proceed for the rest of the morning without any hiccups or glitches. Bro Diallo Q4 Radio, AM 1680, iTunes, TuneIn app, search QUE4 and Q4.org. What's up, my fellow time warp travelers? This is a truly interesting times that we live in. We have yet another Supreme Court justice who's been appointed by a Republican, by the party of morality, the party of Jesus, the party of family values, is now attempting to appoint yet another sexual predator to the Supreme Court. A lifetime appointment, one of the most powerful branches of the federal government, one of the most unaccountable branches of the federal government. And I, from my humble position, my lowly position as a mere citizen of the United States, I say the most unconstitutional branch of the federal government. The Supreme Court was never meant to hold the level of power and influence over the federal government or citizens of the United States. But here it is, that's what it is. Judicial review, which allows the Supreme Court to render laws, policies, practices of the private and public sector, constitutional or unconstitutional, and to be the final say. 9 unelected judges, 9 unaccountable judges, 9 life appointed judges are actually our true rulers. They are actually our true overseers, our true Lord and masters. I've always had an issue with this. Even way back in my youngin' days as a political science undergrad and as an activist. And people would always love the Supreme Court when it comes down on their side, and they hate the Supreme Court when it comes down against them. But because people don't take a principled stance and say, well, even if the Supreme Court, even if I'm a right-wing radical Republican, if I'm a far right-wing evangelical, and the Supreme Court is telling me that it's going to upend Roe v. Wade, or it's going to prevent transgender people from using the bathroom of their gender identity, even if they're advancing favorable legislation as a principle, if you have any respect for rule of law, if you have any respect for democratic principles, if you truly believe in the republic for which it stands, if you truly are a constitutionalist, you should be against the Supreme Court and the undue, unconstitutional power that it has amassed for itself. Even if you are a far left liberal, even if the Supreme Court is advancing Roe v. Wade and upholding principles that you hold dear, you should say, I oppose, even when they're voting in my favor. even when they are asserting ideas and principles and philosophies that I agree with, I'm going to stand in principle against the Supreme Court. Now, that's a hard thing to do, but Kwame Ture said we can always compromise or even adjust our tactics, our methods, our trajectory, but we should never compromise our fundamental principles. And that's gotten me into a lot of trouble because when you start to organize, mass organize with established organizations or institutions, or you start to admire or embrace certain individuals, and inevitably your principles are going to be compromised, and you'll have to make the decision: do I want to go with the group, or do I want to fall back and stand on this principle? And there are no people more attacked in society. There are no more people debased in this society than people who stand on principle. Especially if you stand on principle in such a way that prevents you from getting money, getting paid, then you're a fool, you're mocked, you're demeaned, even by people who claim to be against the system. And people always say might makes right, but that is not the case in modern society. Might does not make right. Fiat makes right. Fiat makes right. Meaning that if you get money out of something, or if you can make something doing money, it's very hard for people to tear you down. But he getting money. And if you have no money, not only how you're living your life must not be appropriate, must be incorrect somehow, over there poor and principled. Not only are you mocked for yourself personally, because you can't amass fiat, but you don't have a right to criticize the principles, motivations, or even the outcomes of the people who got money. Now, I've experienced this firsthand because me, as a poor black man living on the south side of Chicago, who is educated, who is principled, who, as far as I'm concerned, I have a track record of, consistent track record of trying to make a positive contribution to the just aspirations of my people. And using what little talents I have, what meager resources I have, to feed back into sustaining my people and eventual liberation of my people. But it doesn't pay. There is no arena, there's nowhere in this world where representing the interest of African people is going to amass you fiat currency. I mean, I think we're the only people trying to conduct our revolution in our free time. I don't know of any other revolution that's been done after work, after I get my degree, after I make my first major real estate investments. I meet so many people that got all these life goals, and then as soon as they get established, quote unquote established, then it's time to stick it to the man. But I digress. A new phenomenon that if you are poor, not only does no one care about your principles, your ideas, but if you're poor, you don't have a right to criticize what the rich do. And as I said myself, I had issues with black trickle-down economics. I have issue with trickle-down blackonomics. Now, trickle-down economics was first introduced by the Ronald Reagan administration. Ronald Reagan said that the economy is stagnating. We have stagflation because there are too many regulations and restrictions on the ability to amass money, to make money. Now, whenever you hear white people, especially Republicans, say industry, entrepreneurship, innovation, whenever you hear them say the bottom, they don't give a damn about any of that. They want to amass as much money as possible. They want to hoard money. And industry, innovation, all that. The business of America is business. And the sole purpose of business is not to come up with innovation, but it's to make money. And Ronald Reagan and his financial platform was unleash the elite. Get rid of all the regulations and restrictions that was put on amassing as much money as possible. Doing things such as not enforcing the laws against monopolies, such as subverting and utterly destroying labor unions, so repressing and doing away with environmental laws. Get rid of everything that restricts the death tax, the estate tax. Get rid of everything that in any way obstructs or prevents rich white people, mainly, but if there's a few blacks that wiggle in there, the blacks we admire, the blacks we love, the blacks we worship, there's a few blacks that get in there and get that paper, that get up in that income bracket, that tax bracket. Do everything you can to restrict that, to remove the restrictions on making money. And also, taxation. Taking money from rich people and redistributing it to the poor. What do we look like? For welfare, social programs, and in fact, forget not only welfare, but stop taxing the rich to build bridges. Stop taxing the rich to repair state government programs and state and government facilities. And Ronald Reagan said, when that happens, when we allow billionaires, trillionaires, and multinational corporations to make as much money as possible without any obstructions, without any oversight, without any penalties when they break the law, guess what's going to happen? It's all going to trickle down. They're going to take that money that they would have had to pay in taxes. They're going to take that money that they would have had to pay in wages to their unionized workers. They would have taken that money that they would have had to waste on environmental remediation to get rid of the pollution. They're going to take all that money and they're going to spread it around to the people. Now, George Bush Sr., the first George Bush, Daddy Bush, said that this is called voodoo economics because he, in his racist, culturally insensitive logic, felt that voodoo was fake. It was superstition. It was crazy. It made no sense. It had no grounding, unlike Christianity, unlike Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. Voodoo was just an absurdity. Something that crazy people engaged in that had no grounding in truth and that shouldn't even be considered. And good people, intelligent people don't mess around with it. And go look this up. I mean, this is the Bro Diallo show, but don't take my word on none of this. His own vice president said that Ronald Reagan was proposing voodoo economics. Unrealistic and even immoral, because there's another element to voodoo. Voodoo is satanic, it's immoral, it ain't right. So voodoo, this is George Bush now, unlike the moral Catholic Church and the moral Protestant Church, evangelical. So he said Ronald Reagan is proposing voodoo economics for the masses of our people. And when I say our people, I meant in his sense, white people. And the American people. Let's just say American citizens. Let's not even go. Let's go transracial. Let's go post-racial with this analysis. Because this is very, 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 very important that we understand this. Because I'm getting cussed out. I'm being called a hater. I'm being called everything but a child of God. Who used to say that? I think it was Professor Mackey. Oh, they call me everything but a child of God. They said that in the Midwest too. Southern, they call you everything out your name. Because I got the nerve. But anyway, let me just finish my little backstory because we got to be historical in all of our analysis because in all endeavors, history is best qualified to reward our research, right? So anyway, Ronald Reagan proposed this trickle-down economics. He didn't just propose it, he implemented it. And then the very man that called it voodoo economics, George Bush Sr., he was running against Reagan in the Republican primary for the 1980 election. He was running, and then you flippity, you come back on it, you smack it, flip it, rub it down. He became his running mate because Reagan was from California, surfer dude in the 80s, and he was also a former actor, but he was a governor, but people felt like he didn't have any institutional legitimacy. So he went and got George Bush, who was a former CIA agent, and he was from New England. So they figured being from California and being from the South, that was enough. And he was a proven racist. Ronald Reagan was a proven racist, even though in his early career he was a leftist. Reagan was a progressive Democrat leftist. And but Reagan's an interesting scumbag. If you're into studying scumbags, he's a scumbag. I suggest you study a cowardly scumbag. And I mean, if you know he's a scum, because the right wing worships him today, and right wing, the American right seems to, right. I'm not going to say the American right, the Italian right, the British right, the French right, the African right. The right wing is scumbag. Right wing, far right. The further right you go, the scummier it gets, the more rapey and disgusting and hypocritical it becomes. But that's another discussion. Anyway, Reagan brought on Bush because Bush was from New England. I know we think the Bush, you think of George Bush, that's a Texas, that's a cowboy, but nah, he was playing dress up. The Bush family is German, blue blood, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. So anyway, he was like, that's politics. You don't get emotional, you don't take it personal. I know you diss my entire economic platform. You say you called me voodoo, which is demonic in white terms. When white people say voodoo, and when a lot of black people who are also subject to white culture and indoctrinated in Western culture, when you hear voodoo, that's demonic, that's evil, that's dirty, that's crazy. So you call my butt, I'm going to bring you on board because now it's time, to set aside our white differences and get on to white, governance, white rule. So anyway, Reagan, 8 years of building up this idea of trickle-down economics. And then came, when Reagan ran his 2 terms, then came Bush. And he went ahead and continued with voodoo economics. And then came Clinton, did the same thing, trickle-down economics. And then came Bush 2.0, trickle-down economics. And then came our Lord and Savior, Barack Hussein Obama. And he continued trickle-down voodoo economics. But one thing I was able to say, one thing I could say, I could stand up as a subject of the U.S. empire and a citizen of the United States, was black people, all the way back to the 1980s, since the Carter administration, by and large, had a principled stance against voodoo economics. Black people were loyal FDR progressives. Black people, up until the FDR administration and the FDR reform and the Progressive Revolution and the, what do they call it, the Great Society, LBJ, black people were firmly FDR progressives. Black people believed in progressive taxation. Black people believed in preventing the ascension of monopoly. Black people were principled. And I'm like, we may not be free. We may not have power in this system, but one thing we have is principled outlook. We are the most progressive bloc in the U.S. political culture. You could always rest on black people to fall on. We might lose, but we're going to lose on the right side of the fence. We do the right thing. We didn't do the revolutionary thing. We were on some, it was a lot of things to criticize black people about But in the American political context, in the American political arena, the vast majority of black people always fell on the right side of history. Until now. Until 2008. Now, I'm not going to talk about all the other things Obama seduced us into doing. You know, that he put the Mac down on us. You know, you get a good young lady or a straight arrow young brother, and they get, you know, this streetwise sister or this streetwise brother run up on these straight lace, these squares, these nerves, these lanes, and all of a sudden they compromise themselves. They start behaving in a way, talking in a way, consuming things that they never would consume under the influence of this other person. And when you go to that person and say, hey, you was a good brother, you was a respectable brother, now you in these streets thugging and tripping, or you was a good sister, you was a respectable sister, now you out here doing destructive, demeaning things in the community, what's wrong with you? And they swear up and down, this is who I am, this is how I get down. When really it's whoever they're in a relationship with, whoever they started kicking it with, is influencing them from the outside, but they don't want to acknowledge that they get played, that they get pimped. So they pretend like what they're doing is because of what they want to do and not because of what they've been manipulated or coerced into doing. That's black folks. Obama came, we were the best political outlook. Black people were always on point, everything. Black people, by and large, opposed war and police actions. We opposed the death penalty. We supported affirmative action. We supported environmental law. I mean, black people just were always, every policy presented. Well, let's do a poll. America wants to invade, wants to bomb Libya. Now this is when when Reagan bombed Libya. They do a poll and say Americans are cheering USA, USA, yeah, bomb Libyans, bomb those sand N-words, I mean Arabs, whatever the hell they are, those Hajis, bomb those ragheads, bomb them. And they're like, well, Americans are 85% in favor. But when we look at the black community, 75, 80, 90% are against the bombing. Like, yeah, you know, they gonna bomb, they not gonna listen to us, but when the history is written down, when the aliens come and find this dead, barren planet with no life on it, and they start to look at our archives, they're gonna be like, well, there was some population of people that were humane in all this insanity. There were some people that tried to stop this mass extinction. And that'll be my people. And maybe they'll resurrect our skeletons and put it in an alien museum as the few good people. They can't do that anymore. Because now, you go back to 1983, 1984, 1985, black people are like, don't bomb Libya, don't bomb nobody. America needs to deal with America. It's in the American empire, but you come up, put a black man in the office. You put a black man in the office. All of a sudden, black people are like, bomb Libya, put troops in Syria. We're black people for the first time in U.S. political history, since the Emancipation Proclamation, since the Reconstruction era, and the first time in existence of U.S. black political consciousness, for the first time in our dwelling in this land, first time, black people statistically, ideologically, verbally, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, were more pro-war than white folks. We trusted and believed when Obama wanted to bomb somebody, then they deserve. If Obama's bombing you, you done did something to get bombed. We supported Obama overthrow of it. Reagan just sent 2 fighter jets to drop 2 bombs on Libya, and that was the end of it. He killed Gaddafi. They killed one of Gaddafi's children and destroyed some infrastructure, but they quickly rebuilt. Obama did 1,000,000 times worse than Reagan did. And what did we say? Go Obama, yeah, you shouldn't have. And people were getting at me. And when they called white folks, hi, I'm from the Pew Research Organization. How do you feel about Obama? Well, I don't trust that boy with his finger on the button. I'm against the bombing. I don't trust that boy. Leave the killing to the good Christian white boys. He's a Muslim, killing Muslims. He's a Mau Mau killing Mau Maus. I'm confused, but I don't support the bombing. Okay, that's one check against the bomb. You call Ye. Jabbo, what's up, man? Yo, let me tell you something. Yo, hey, if Obama bombing them, then they got it coming. You know what I'm saying? Don't step to my boy. So it flipped. Black people were pro-war and white people were anti-war. Which means our stance against war for all those generations, since 1869, since black men got the right to vote first, we got the right to vote, but not the ability to vote. We got the right to vote in 1960. Black women got the right to vote in 1860s. Black women got the right to vote in 1920s, but we got the ability to vote in 1960s, and we still, but let's just say, whether we was voting or not, they knew where we stood on the issue. So all that time, it wasn't a principled stand. It wasn't an ideological opposition. What the hell was it? Or have we failed our ancestors? Or we, with all our smart devices, we're the most educated generation of black people, the most well-resourced generation of black people, the most blah, blah, blah of black people, but we don't seem, the sharecroppers were more intelligent than us. The uneducated black factory workers from the 50s were more intelligent than us politically. The brothers and sisters that were getting lynched and murdered for trying to exercise the franchise were more principled, intelligent, and informed than we are today. Because we be falling for okie dokes that they didn't fall for. But is it our fault? I don't know. Those are the same people that told us we had to integrate and become equal to white people. And how do you get more equal to white people than being pro-war? Than advocating the murder of people overseas. I mean, how can you, that's one thing that'll put you on equal footing with white folks. That's kind of their thing. That's kind of how they get down. But I digress. Going all the way back to my core point. Black people, for the longest time, were anti many of these Republican policies. Right? And then lo and behold, Obama got us being pro-war, pro-intervention, pro-imperialism. And I'm like, man, can't get any worse than this. Black people have just have totally defecated on our political legacy. But it gets worse. It got worse. How did it get worse? Now, we're supporting trickle-down economics. So now we're pro-war, pro-intervention, pro-invasion, pro-overthrow. I wouldn't call Gaddafi an African leader, but he was a leader in Africa. I know some of y'all got issues with that, but I still think that North Africa is under colonial occupation. I want to decolonize. Arab occupation, Islamic occupation. In the Islamic occupation of North Africa. I said it, and I stand by it. But moving on. Now we're pro trickle-down economics. We dance in the streets. We stick our elbows behind our spine and do those little step dance on the balls of our feet. We do the Holy Ghost dance because a black person who's been allowed to amass untold fortunes, who as a result of Reagan, Bush 1.0, Clinton, Bush 2.0, Barack Obama, and Trump policies is able to amass more money, to rape more resources than anybody else. And like I said, there's always a smattering of blacks that step up and ball out alongside white folks. Not a statistically relevant number, but enough black elites, money, black bourgeoisie, moneyed blacks. Now they have the money to bestow blessings on us. And so when LeBron James trickles down to school, when now Michael Jordan is trickling down some resources to North Carolina because he played basketball in college there. And as they trickle down the money on us, we just stand there and let it wash over us. Oh, thank you, and worship these people. So when black people do trickle down economics, we love it. Now, we hated it when Reagan proposed it, but now that we're in the throes of it, now that the state governments, city governments, federal government, public institutions have been ripped, have been raped, have been gutted, have been upended. Now that in the private sector, the workers have been completely demoralized, have had all of their wealth from the increased production stolen from them. Now that we are in this desperate state where our public institutions have eroded and our private lives and our private our standing in the private economy, the private sector economy is nothing but a orgy of theft by the rich. Now that black people have always been peasants and serfs, but now white folks are always also being peasants and serfs. It used to be that even though we were reduced to serfdom, we were reduced to peasantry, we resented it. We organized against that status, but now we celebrate that status. And the serf and a peasant, the difference between a slave, a serf, and a peasant is that the serf and the peasant actually have admiration for their lords, for their governors, for their king, for his majesty. Whereas a slave knows, like, I don't want this, I shouldn't be born into this, and I reject it. But now we peasants, oh, here come his majesty. The duke, the duchess, the king, the queen, the nobleman, the noblewoman. Here comes LeBron James and his noble duchess to bestow a school on, and we will worship when we were like, wait a minute. We, the people, make the wealth. I don't give a damn how well LeBron James chased balls. I don't care how well, if it wasn't for the electrician, for the dude who sweep and buff the floors, if it wasn't for the popcorn vendors, if it wasn't for the street people who pick up pave the streets for him to get there, if it wasn't for the trash man to take away the trash to the dump and get it out of here, then we'd all be too sick and buried under rats and pestilence to even enjoy a game. If it wasn't for the citizens, if it wasn't for the everyday working people, the elites wouldn't be able to do nothing they could do. If the nurses' aides, if the trash people, if the McDonald's workers, if the truck drivers say, hey, we're going on strike for a full year, society would collapse. If the basketball players went on strike for 10 years, well, it'd be a minor inconvenience. We the people, which I have no problem saying we the people in order to create a more perfect union, because I know the U.S. Constitution, I know the principles and values of the U.S. democracy ain't got nothing to do with Europe. That came from the Iroquois Confederacy. Europeans had no concept of all men being created equal. That is nowhere. You go all the way back to the Europeans have no concept of that. They stole it. They plagiarized it from the Native Americans after or before they killed them. I don't know when they raped it from them, but they stole it. In the process of killing them. Before they killed them, after they killed them, or while they were in the process of killing them, they stole their documents, they plagiarized their philosophies and their governing ideologies. And so we the people, and black folks have always been the ones that said, we're going to make America live up to the content of its creed. And living up to the content of the creed means doing what you say you're going to do. Don't front. Don't say this is a free land of the free and you got more than half the people enslaved or under some other form of oppression. Equal opportunity. Give everybody a chance. Democracy, majority rules, governing of the demos. The people are the power, and the power to the people. We try to make America live up to the content of the creed, but we figure hell to hell with it. Let's just be equal to the white man. Let's just be equal to our oppressors and start to behave like bloodthirsty, pathological, parasitic oppressors. And then there's always been benevolent ones. There's always been the ones that talk nice, talk pretty to us. So this is where we stand. This is where we are. So black people, we want celebrities. And then for our years, we had black people like, you don't deserve the black celebrities don't have to help us. We shouldn't ask our black celebrities to do anything for us, which is fine with me. But they love asking us. You know, when Michael Jackson got in trouble, all of a sudden, he hired Al Sharpton and he hired Nation of Islam security guards. I'm sick of them running to us and huddling us when it's hard times, but then, you know, leaving us in the dust when it's good times. We better work all this out. This is all part of being a people. Okay? Trickle down economics. Wait, you know, just hoping. And then LeBron James, like, remember Beyonce said, I'm so rich, my great-grandchildren don't have to work. They can ride the backs of your great-grand. That was insulting to me, but black people were like, woo! And we all think, I want to get there. You really believe tremendous cream, $1 and a dream. I mean, literally, y'all trying to have the entire fate of the African community. The entire fate of the African community rests on $1 and a dream. Anyway, I digress. There's something else I wanted to talk about before I talked about what I talked about. Oh, this Brett Kavanaugh. So your rapist, sexual predator president appointed racist, sexual predator Supreme Court nomination. And now we are in a historical loop-de-loop. I mean, I don't know what to do with this. Here we go again. I don't know what angle are we gonna look at this? What are we gonna do with this? Do we want to look at the racist angle? Do we want to look at the sexist angle? But apparently, if you say sexism, and let me just say that, and I'll come back to that. There's another element to this. When I say history repeats, I don't just mean a rapist, fascist, scumbag Supreme Court justice appointed by a morally reprehensible, illegitimate leader, whether I'm talking about Bush 1 or I'm talking about Trump 1. We might have a Trump 2.0. Trump Jr. might run too. You know, since the White House is up for sale. But there's another thing that's went on with this that I want to touch on. But anyway, Brett Kavanaugh was accused of attempting to rape. Brett Kavanaugh is running, if you ain't up on it. Brett Kavanaugh has been appointed by President Trump to take over Kennedy's seat on the U.S. Supreme Court, which is a lifetime appointment. And, you know, due to his age, when he gets on, but anyway, the left progressives don't like him. You know, they don't like him because he is a mass incarcerator. He is a fascist. He does support atrocities, killing people overseas, all of that. Nope, they don't like him because they're afraid he's going to overturn the legal right to abortion, Roe v. Wade. I mean, you can kill people overseas, but I mean, how dare you take away a woman's right to abortion? It's weird. But anyway, this man has sat before the court. All of his records, he was legal counsel for the Bush administration, Bush 2.0. He was legal counsel for the Bush administration. And he has documents. That's one thing about white folks I just don't understand. They do so much dirt, they do so much lying, but they're really obsessed with documentation, going all the way back to the Greeks and the Romans. Well, the Greeks and the Romans were, you know, metastatic cancer tumors that grew off of comedic Egyptian society. And Egyptians were very, very meticulous record keepers. So maybe they just carried that on from when Africans civilized the Europeans. When Africans brought civilization to the Neanderthals. But the Greeks, the Romans, they're just meticulous record keepers. And that's something I've yet to figure out, that they're such liars. They're such hypocrites. But they keep record. You know, and when I went to grad school and I started doing research, I'm like, I can't believe they wrote this stuff down. In fact, the only reason I was able to graduate from grad school and even get my undergrad, because the horrible things I was saying about all these wonderful white people and wonderful Western civilization, is that I was always able to find some white documentation to back up everything I said. Where I said the United States is an empire, is a racist, and blah, blah, whatever I say. Outlandish thing, crazy black militant stuff I'd say, I'd find somewhere where a white man wrote it down. Go figure. But anyway, Brett Kavanaugh literally has hundreds of thousands of pages of documents detailing his action as legal counsel under the Bush administration. And they're not releasing it. They're not giving the information to the Judiciary Committee or to the joint session of Congress so that they can evaluate whether Brett Kavanaugh is worthy to have a lifetime appointment on the U.S. Supreme Court. Go figure. So anyway, that's one thing, but that they're still proceeding. They're still proceeding. And then he perjured himself. He was caught in several lies, and lying to the Senate is a criminal offense. Remember, they tried to impeach. Well, they did impeach Bill Clinton. The impeachment wasn't ratified, but they did. The lower house voted to impeach the president because he lied under oath. Brett Kavanaugh has been at least 3 lies that he's told to Congress, which is against the law. You can't lie to the FBI, even if you're not under oath. But he's under oath, lying to joint sessions of Congress. And that's an impeachable offense. That's an arrestable offense. And then everybody's still proceeding, even punk-ass Democrats. And Cory Booker talking about, I'm going to release these documents. And I know that releasing these documents will lead to my expulsion from the Senate. And I'm going to do it anyway. How many of y'all fell for that Cory Booker grandstanding? I can't stand Cory Booker. Boy, let me tell you something. But I mean, he's just not, I don't know why people ain't eating up his feces like we eat. We love Obama-flavored feces. Now, don't get mad at me for saying feces. I would prefer to say BS or the S word, which, you know, is probably more. But anyway. Obama favored feces. We lapped that up. I mean, even though Obama's out of the office, we gathered up enough Obama favored feces. We froze it, we dried it out and preserved it, turned it into jerky. We put it in our deep freezers in the basement. We got enough Obama flavored feces to keep us going until Michelle Obama runs for mayor of Chicago or till she runs for Congress or the Senate. We got enough till one of the Obama daughters graduates Harvard and runs for president. So we got enough to last us until another Obama emerges from the Obama clan. But I don't know why y'all don't eat. I mean, Cory Booker is following the same formula. Is y'all just don't want to? Anyway, I don't know. But Cory Booker was full of crap. Because number one, in order to impeach Cory Booker, you would need a 2/3 majority vote to impeach him. And the Republicans, even if every single Republican voted to oust him from the Senate, they don't have enough votes. He was completely safe. That was not a high-risk thing. That was not a dramatic thing. And the fact is, he could have just released the documents and be like, I'm releasing these documents. I don't give a damn. Kiss my arse. Ain't nothing you could do. But he tried to pretend like he was putting his very political career, his livelihood on the line to get the word out to the people. Man, get out of here. Now, there are some other documents. There are other classified documents that he has access to. Some really real knowledge that he could kick out. What can you release? This man is a deviant. He's a liar. He's a sexual predator. Okay, yeah, I could have just looked at him and told you that. I don't need documents to tell me that. But anyway, this woman, who's the best type of woman, because if this woman is a PhD, professor, psychologist, straight line, and she is the ideal woman. She is the ideal victim. Unlike, who's that lady, Stormy Daniels. She's the ideal. She is poised. She is educated with a terminal degree. She is conservative. She's married in a wholesome marriage. I mean, she's the ideal victim. Now, Anita Hill was single. She was black. What more can you say? There was no man who picked her, made her worthy. So Anita Hill was treated like dirt. And I always, go back, I always knew Anita Hill was right. I've always hated Clarence Thomas. I never supported Clarence Thomas. And y'all, everybody's against Clarence Thomas now. Everybody, oh yeah, Clarence Thomas. Yeah, Uncle Tom, Clarence Thomas. But if you go back to 92, 91, and even the black, what is the American Attorneys Association? It's either the National or the American Attorneys Association, whatever. The black lawyers, the whatever the National Association for Black Lawyers is, they were inviting Clarence Thomas out to give talks, and black people were running around talking about a black man being brought down and black people embarrassing themselves, and what is Anita Hill's problem? Black people were, if not openly support, at best indifference. And even when I said to hell with Clarence Thomas way back, I was in high school and I'm like, Long Dong Silver. There was no internet back then. I couldn't just go Google Long Dong Silver. But anyway, there's a little more to this. I don't think this is going to bring Brett Kavanaugh down. I think it's rather curious that a woman who says, and remember, long before Kavanaugh was appointed by Trump, and the only reason he's appointed by Trump because Kavanaugh has a history of stating that he doesn't believe that a president can be indicted, a president can be subpoenaed, or that he believes that a president in the 4 years that they're in office is essentially above the law, which is not constant. I don't know where he gets that from. I think that alone should invalidate him. But Kavanaugh takes the position that the president don't, and remember he had, Trump had a list of Supreme Court justices. Kavanaugh wasn't on his list. He put him on his list because he said if these indictments come down, it might go all the way to Supreme Court. And I need somebody on that Supreme Court that believes that a president can do whatever they want. Which is saying a lot, which is crazy because the president can already commit mass murder, genocide, and atrocities. I mean, what more do you want to do? But anyway, I believe that Kavanaugh attempted to rape this girl when he was in high school. And some people, which is very disturbing to me, are like, he said, I don't remember that. I remember high school. But maybe I wasn't like Kavanaugh, drugged and drunk out of my mind throughout high school. But I vividly remember high school. I graduated high school in 1992. Bishop Hogan Rams. KCMO. And I remember high school. I remember the girls I liked, the girls I didn't like. I remember the things I did, the things I said. I remember. And there might be some specifics that I just overlooked, but by the time somebody comes to me and say, yo, every girl that let me grind up on her at a school dance, I'm still to this day eternally grateful. I don't, want you sisters to know, all the girls that let me little dance, little touchy-feely, snuggly, little sneaky teen stuff, I appreciate it. God bless you all. Oh, wait, but I'm married now, so, that's it. It's over. It happened. Let's move on. But anyway, there are literally politicians that are like, yo, who hasn't tried to rape somebody as in high school? That's just a high school. They're literally coming back with that whole boys will be boys thing. Or how can you remember? He was high. He was drunk. You're going to hold him against something? Who remembers what they did when they were high or drunk? Things happen. They started off with that talk. But they were like, whoa, we got to back this up. They pulled it back, and now, unbelievably, Trump made a statement saying, hey, we need to get to the bottom of this. Trump's MO throughout his history, every time where Trump has been accused of assault, attempted rape, molestation of a minor, and he's even on tape recounting, stating that he sexually assaults women by grabbing them right in the pussy and just grabs a woman and kiss her, and he doesn't care. He's been accused of rape, sexual assault, sexual predation, perversions. He's on tape telling a 10-year-old girl, in another 10 years, I'm going to be dating you. And Trump's response whenever any of his victims stood up and say, this man has behaved in a sexual predatory manner towards me, has to been to attack the woman. Oh, she's so ugly. Why would I want to rape her? He would threaten to sue his victims. I'll sue you forever. I'll take everything you got. He would berate his victims. He would call his victims liars. And so everyone was thinking, oh no, Trump's man, Kavanaugh, is under attack and being accused of sex. So everyone was waiting for Trump to bust out and attack the woman's integrity, attack her honesty, belittle her, and threaten her. And Trump comes out and says, let's get to the bottom of this. See, they're getting to Trump. Y'all getting to Trump. Trump is like, damn, it's too much heat. I think that he won't be able to play this game for long. I think eventually. But Trump, have either sedated Trump, they have cloned Trump, or they have paid Trump off, or they have done something to convince Trump to stop acting like Trump. Not sure what they've done, but I mean, by the time I'm like, wow, even I'm surprised. Trump is behaving politically. He's speaking politically. He's actually responded to this Kavanaugh situation like a statesman. Like I said, I don't think it'll last. But again, I think they went to Trump like, look, Trump, we're on the midterms. And Trump already knows if the Democrats take the House and or Senate, he's going to get impeached. The investigations are going to be pushed. His children might end up in jail. So Trump was like, yo, it's too close to an election cycle for you to be offending people. So he's doing a little dance. But, well, let's see how long Trump can put on his presidential pants and pretend to be president. Let's see how long before he goes back to being the brutish, petty thug that he truly is. But, and another thing, I thought it was very curious that they're going to have this woman who says, I was raped, I was sexually assaulted, be forced to sit right next to the man who assaulted her. Generally, I worked in a level 1 trauma center. And we had they brought, when a woman was raped, they had very strict protocols. Like, they didn't keep them in the common area. You had the triage area and the waiting room. They had a special secluded room. I mean, because it's not just the physical, but the psychological trauma. It's just, and having to confront their abuser, that was always an option. But they were never forced or required to have to sit across from the person who raped them or attempted to rape them or sexually assaulted them. But I digress. Let's move on to the topic because I'm running out of time. I actually want to talk about another hustle. But we'll save this to Friday. I wanted to talk about the Year of the Woman. Because now this is the Year of the Woman 2.0. So I'm going to come back to this. While feminism is a grand hustle. I might have time to talk about this, but I want to talk about today's show is entitled Talent, Fiat, and the Illusion of Power. And the reason, what I mean by talent and fiat is, this comes from not Serena Williams situation, because it's pretty typical. Black person being more harshly judged and unfairly penalized by white folks. Now, we don't care as much when it happens to a black man who ends up in prison or loses his life, or a black man who's put on death row. We don't care when this happened to a black woman who's just trying to get her child into a better school and gets 5 years in prison. But when it happens to one of our celebrities, one of our stars, one of our celebrated people who's a model for us all, then that's a problem. But it's a pretty typical occurrence. I don't know why, but it's a pretty typical occurrence. I ain't saying we accept it, but we acknowledge it. I think we should reject it and fight against it. But what this really tells me is that Serena Williams' condition, Serena Williams' circumstances, Serena Williams' outlook is really can be extrapolated across all black experiences. Here's the most talented tennis player in the world, one of the most well compensated athletes in the world. Nike endorsements. I mean, she's selling and she's there twerking next to Beyonce on a throne. I mean, she's just living the life that all of y'all dream about. I don't want that life, but I don't know no better. People tell me I have a poverty mentality. I'm a socialist. I don't. But that's the life y'all. She's living the life y'all strive for. Or at least if you can't get it, you put your little children out on that mosquito-infested tennis court so they can chase it. Now, but you got this lowly ref that nobody knows who could say all your money, all your talent, all your accomplishments mean nothing in this moment. Boom. I can take it all away. So what that really should communicate to black people, beyond whether, this is the issue, because she's fighting for women's rights and other stuff. And black people are okay with her saying other stuff, we being relegated to the other stuff category as opposed to being pushed to the fore. I've been attacked for advocating race-first ideology. You ain't even got to go to Garvey to find race first. I mean, what's his name? Claude Anderson said, before your mother knew she was having a daughter, she knew she was having a black child. So, take it or leave it. I'm race first. I think Garvey was right in that proclamation. I don't think he applied it in the best possible way. But thankfully, we're still here, so we have an opportunity to build on and correct Garvey's mistakes and replicate his successes. But anyway, Serena's situation is that black people can be the most talented people. Let's move beyond Serena. Let's look at Barack Obama. Extremely talented and now extremely wealthy after using his talent in the power of the elite. But the disrespect, the dehumanization, and the erosion of the very office of the president while Obama was there is still fresh in our minds. And I tell you, I don't support Obama. I'm not an Obama supporter. But I can still recognize when a black person I fundamentally disagree with on all points is being dehumanized, is a victim of overt racism. And I can, at the very least, if I ain't gonna march for you, I ain't gonna vote for you, I ain't gonna shed no tears for you, but I can acknowledge the facts related to your case. So Obama has talent. He's a talented statesman. He's a very talented and competent bureaucrat. And that's one thing about black folks. We have a tendency to take better care of white folks' stuff than white folks take care of. We have a tendency to believe more in white folks' stuff than they believe in their own stuff, as we reject our stuff. Or as Dr. John Henry Clark put it, we out Pope the Pope and we out Muhammad Muhammad. We are the true believers. So Obama got into that office, and his job, he was elected to preserve the status quo that was crumbling, and he resurrected the status quo. He saved white people. He saw white folks, white empire, white capitalism drowning in a whirlpool. And Obama jumped in, took off his shirt, showed off his pectorals and his abs, and swam out there and grabbed white folks and took them back to shore. And the whole time he was swimming white people's economy back to shore, swimming the state, the nation back to shore, saving multinational corporations, giving back, making the United States once again, even though it was unearned, respectable nation, because the United States lost a lot of respect and global standing under Bush in his wars of aggression. And the whole time white people were biting at him, spitting at him, defecating on him, urinating on him, and trying to drown him. And yet, he saved them against their will. He saved them against their will. The capitalist economy, the white capitalist economy, put a gun to its head, cocked back the hammer, pulled the trigger, and Obama still managed to jump in between him, put himself between that bullet and their brain. And they hate him for it. They, to this day, and will forever hate him for it. They called his wife a monkey. They said his wife was a man. There were whole investigations based on the bulge in her dress. Michelle Obama would wear a ball gown, or she would wear a pantsuit, and she'd be out representing the office of the president, representing the first lady, the institution, the title of first lady, representing it better than Hillary Clinton, better than Nancy the Reagan, better than drunk ass Betty Ford. Remember, we had a first lady, Betty Ford. Y'all heard of the Betty Ford Clinic? There was a first lady, President Ford's wife, sloppy, pissy drunk, laid out, grinding up on the Secret Servicemen. You don't hear about that. They didn't call her a monkey. They didn't call her a man. They didn't have cameramen and paparazzi zooming in on her genitals, trying to see if there's a penis bulge and accusing her of tucking away her penis. Have y'all forgotten this? And Obama never once said, God damn you. Obama never lost his temper. Obama never slammed his fist on the table. Obama, unless he's talking to black folks. That's when Obama will cut loose, telling black people to stop being lazy, to stop complaining, to take off our house shoes and put on our work boots, to raise our children. Yes, he was very aggressive, very assertive, very manly when it came to dealing with black folks. Poor black people, poor blacks. The black people who put his ass where he is. The black people who made him who the hell he was. But I digress. But did Michelle ever turn around? Say, how dare you? When you pissed off Nixon, when you pissed off Bill Clinton, he'd send the damn IRS after you. Now, if you had said Barbara Bush, either Bush 1 or Bush 2, either of their wives had a bulge, there'd be consequences. But you can insult Barack with impunity because Obama was like, well, a statesman. I'm an American president. This here is white folks' government. And I need to have a certain air of dignity. I need to allow this to wash over my back. And if the people, I am the people's representative, the white people's representative. And if they want to hurl tomatoes at me, if they want to hurl obscenities at me, I will take it with dignity. I will take it with pride because I will not diminish the status of the U.S. presidential office. We got more respect for white people and white people's institutions than white people have for them. We out poping the Pope. The average black African is a better Catholic than the damn Pope. Senegal is more Islamic than Mecca, Saudi Arabia. And black people, even though we've been enslaved by America, we've been disrespected, we've been subjected to genocide and all this from America, we're more American than anybody. We're more patriotic, we're more loyal, and we're more trying to live up to the content of the creed. We're more constitutional. White people are like, yeah, I love America, till it pisses me off. Till it tell me I can't drive my Hummer. Then I don't know. White people are iffy about America. Yeah, they're patriotic when they feel like it. And they're treasonous when they feel like it too. But black people take so much abuse, so much dehumanization, And every time America goes to war, we're right there enlisting. Where I sign up, boss? Who I shoot today, boss? We get elected to office and we walk in all dignified, while the white senators walk in staggering with coke dust on their nose. Black people are there like, this here is a sacred chamber of Congress. We respect their stuff more than they do. We believe in America. We get mad when America fails to be America. So, black people, Obama, very talented, very rich, but he didn't have institutional power. Why did I say Obama didn't have institutional power? Because he didn't buck it. He didn't change it. Obama was status quo. Now, if I get hired at McDonald's and I'm the best McDonald's worker in the world, but I bring no innovation, I bring no new standards, no new techniques, I don't bring anything, I just go there, look at the McDonald's employee manual, and I follow it to a T. That's not me exercising power. Now, the CEO of McDonald's, he says, hey, we're going to do the McRib. We're going to come up with a vegan. We're going to open and we're going to expand to these markets. And we're going to shut down here. And we're going to have a new minority push for a minority franchise. We're going to innovate. We're going to change. We're going to branch out. We're going to contract. We're going to have layoff, massive hiring. Now, that's power. But simply looking at the rules and following the rules, that's not an expression of power. You a cog in the machine. And I don't care if you're a line cook at McDonald's, a grill cook at McDonald's, or you're the president of the damn United States. Obama, everybody told Obama, you're supposed to be an FDR. You're supposed to bring radical reforms. I don't know what a radical reform is, but Obama's smarter than me. He went to Harvard. If anybody can figure out what the hell a radical reform is, because I think those two words are anathema, but they thought he would be what they call an FDR Democrat. We've been waiting for an FDR Democrat for the last 50 years. We got close with Jimmy Carter, but Jimmy Carter punked out. Jimmy Carter saw the whole country moving to the right. Jimmy Carter said, well, I'm going to try to be up. So Obama, talent, Fiat, and the illusion of power. And black people were happy just to see a black family in the White House. We were happy with the illusion, with no fundamental transformation. Obama pressed the reset button. Obama reasserted and reestablished the status quo. Bush got in the car, going in the same direction. He just stomped on the gas. And he was pressed the gas so hard it went off the road and crashed. Obama got elected. He got the car, repaired it, and then put it back on the same road in the same direction at a more responsible pace. So we're moving more responsibly toward oblivion instead of racing towards oblivion. And he repaired the car. He added some newer tires. He fixed the alignment of the car. And now Trump then snatched him out of the driver's seat, and now Trump is pressing the gas. And now Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, and a lot of other good, decent, all-American black people are going to want to fix the American empire after Trump breaks it. And Trump is breaking it. Trump is breaking it. And I'm not lamenting this. I'm not weeping about this. I'm not complaining about this. I'm just articulating it. Y'all want to know my views about the breakage of it? Then I can tell y'all about the fall of the American empire, the collapse of the American empire. I don't advocate collapse or destruction. I advocate dismantling, because oftentimes when you have a collapse, black people get crushed under a collapse. And if we can't dismantle it and we're just going to allow it to fall, we can at least put ourselves in an appropriate position to sidestep it. So that it doesn't fall on us. When something collapses, the worst place to be is at the bottom of the heap. There are some black people who profit off of our misery and suffering. The more black people suffering, the more these black demagogues emerge. These black demagogues emerge and pimp our suffering, exploit our suffering, and build a name for themselves. They tell us the white man is trying to kill you. The white man is trying to turn you to a woman, trying to make our daughters their sons, and tell you all this stuff to to make you afraid, and then out of your fear, you'll be like, here, take my money. It's an old hustle. I can't even, like Jay-Z said, we can't knock the hustle. I knock hustles. But let's go back to sports on this. Black people, I think we should at least figure out now. I don't care if it's Jay or Bay or Serena or Obama. These black people with a lot of money and a lot of talent does not translate into power for them, let alone power for us. I think we should relegate these people to what they truly are, entertainers. And once they're done entertaining you, put them on the shelf and move on until it's time. They should not be looked at as political leaders. They should not be looked at as innovators. They should be looked at as corporate entities, products. I think that when they come in, now, there is another point to this, another caveat here. There is a such thing as scholarly entertainers, or scholars who entertain, or entertainers who are scholars. Like Arthur Ashe, or Paul Robeson. There are certain entertainers who educate themselves to the point and commit to political movements. So they're not just bringing their celebrity to bring attention to a cause. They are actually fully invested in that cause. They're not doing charitable work. They are united and one with the people and struggling as an ally as the people, by, for, and of the people. So I don't say if a famous person, if a wealthy person steps up and say, hey, let's rise up, my people. I ain't saying, oh, you're an entertainer. Don't listen. Say, let me hear your scholarship. Let me hear your proposal. What are your positions? Let me look at your political and ideological track record. But don't tell me, oh, look how I can dunk a ball 360. Follow me. But as times become more politically charged, Jay-Z went from standing on yachts, throwing money off of floats, dumping expensive champagne on bikini women head, to standing across from Barack Obama and showing up in Ferguson and political campaigns. We got Kim Kardashian snatching people out of jail. And I know y'all celebrate this, but this is actually a very, very, very unfortunate trend. The cult of celebrity is very dangerous. The cult of personality, the cult of celebrity is very dangerous. When we cannot distinguish between scholars, academics, freedom fighters, and opportunistic parasitic celebrities that jump on whatever bandwagon is hot at the moment, when we can no longer tell the difference, we're in a lot of trouble. And our children are watching us. Our youth are watching us. And I swear to you, we got celebrities acting like giddy-ass groupies. I mean, we got scholars and black people acting like giddy groupies. And the stakes are way too high. So I'm all fine. If we got a true, Craig Hodges, there are a lot of athletes who demonstrated that, hey, this athlete thing is what I do, but I'm committed. Wilma Rudolph. We have a lot of athletes, but there are other people, other athletes, who have a voice that they haven't earned, who have position and status within our community in terms of our movement, in terms of our activism that they haven't earned. Just the fact that they have a talent and some fiat currency. And if we're willing to sell out for that, hey, you entertain me and you got money to throw at me, then that's not a viable foundation upon which to build a movement or to elevate someone to a status of leadership. And forget even if they ain't leaders, in a status of influence. Y'all see how flaky these celebrities are. Common, go look at that one song he had, and you know. Common was talking revolution. He was repping dead prayers, revolution, bring down the system, and then he's like reach out an arm to white folks, and now he's literally in a CIA-funded propaganda movie. They're gearing and orienting us towards war with China, Russia, or both. And there's this movie called Hunter Killer. Go Google Hunter Killer. That movie, and go look up CIA funding. Anytime you see a movie that uses a large amount of CIA hardware, the federal government, the intelligence agency, and the Pentagon says, if you're going to use our logistics, use our submarines and things in your movie, then you have to have a Pentagon, an intelligence agency consultant on the set, and they get to veto anything in that movie they don't like. All of these major war movies are propaganda. And there are a few war movies, anti-war movies, where the Pentagon said, we're not helping you. And they had to shoot it on their own. But this Hunter Killer is a psyop. This Hunter Killer is Pentagon CIA collaboration propaganda, and it's starring Common. So Common went from encouraging us and motivating us to rebel, calling out Uncle Toms, to making CIA-funded propaganda. That's why we don't let them be our leaders. That's why we don't even let them be influential. That's why we have to orient our struggles and our communities where we are not dependent on their fiat. And we can be completely independent of their fiat if we better pool our resources and cooperate. And then when the celebrities come to us, when the athletes come to us and say, I want to be down, they don't come to us and say, this is what I bestow upon you. We be like, we could tell them, these are the terms and conditions upon which you can enter this, upon which you can participate in this. And we tell them what we want them to do. They don't come to tell us what they will trickle down to us. Reject trickle down economics, even if it's trickling down from a white fortune. I'm telling you, you got to think long term in this. In the short term, yeah, it's good. You got some backpacks, you got a little school, you get a little bail paid. And I ain't saying don't take the money. Believe you me, the few times I've been in handcuffs, I've been out there protesting, holding signs, which I think was dumb. I wish I had learned from Dr. Clark when Dr. Clark said marching ain't nothing but a waste of shoe leather. There was a time when Bro Diallo, I've been everything from a full-on black nationalist, militant, reactionary to a liberal tree hugger. Literally, yes, I have hugged a tree. I was just trying to find a way. But I don't direct hugging a tree. I did feel something. There's something there. If you haven't hugged a tree, don't let this anti-tree hugger propaganda. Go out and find a tree, not one of them big. It could be, even if you can't get your arms, so go hug a tree. There's something to that. But anyway, I re-digress. Standards. Being a black leader should be one of the hardest jobs to get and one of the easiest jobs to lose. We should be skeptical. We should be skeptical. The more money you have, the more status you have, the more exposure you have and access you have to our oppressors, enemies, media, the more skeptical you could be. We do it the opposite way. The less you have, the less we trust you. But the less you have, the less vested you are in the system. And all these black people saying they're anti-Trump. LeBron James is about to more than double his income when the taxes come due in the next cycle. In about 4 months, LeBron James is going to have much more millions of dollars than he ever had because he's got that new contract with the Lakers and the Trump tax cuts. And you see all these rich black folks talking about, I don't like Trump. I'm against Trump. Trump is a racist. I ain't heard one of them say, listen, I stand to make $12 million because of the Republican tax scam. And I'm going to take that entire $12 million and redistribute it to the people. And I'm not going to go and say, I'm going to build a school for y'all. It's the people's money, and I shouldn't have it in the first place. So I'm not going to say what should be done with it. I'm going to allow the people to determine. Self-repair, self-reparation. How many celebrities have said that? How many has Snoop Doggy Dogg made a video shooting Trump in the head or something? Is he going to give back the money to the people that the Republicans allow him to legally steal? Name one anti-Trump, because if that's what I would do. I legit would do that if I ever had that kind of money. If I would say I'm anti-Trump, and I would tell my accountant, Goldstein, I'm sorry, let me not be stereotypical. Ruperstein, okay, Mustafa, whatever. I'd have an accountant named Mustafa, but he'd still be Jewish. I'm gonna get kicked off the air, yo. Anyway, Mustafa, yo, how much money do I stand to make because of these the Republican tax reform? Well, you were on course to just amass $3 million, but thanks to the Republican tax reform, you're gonna get $9 million. Well, me, the kind of dude I am, I'm like, what am I gonna do with $9 million? I'm gonna take, 75, 100,000, and the rest of that, that's going into the streets. That's going to the struggle. But anyway, that's just me. I live humble. I don't want for much. I'm not ambitious in that way. But anyway, I'd say fine. Then call a press conference. I am an anti-Trump. I am anti-Republican. I am a liberal, progressive, black celebrity. And due to this tax reform bill, I'm going to make $9 million extra dollars I wouldn't have made if Trump wasn't elected. And therefore, I'm going to take this money as part. Ain't nobody done that. Ain't nobody done that. Serena ain't done that. Serena says she's fighting for women, but she's going to take that tax cut. She's going to take her and her millionaire husband. The billionaire Jay and Bay, they going to take every dime of that money. And they don't only just get the personal wealth, they also own multinational corporation, Rock of the Rock. They're going to take every dime that Trump, as they talk, and Trump said it. Trump said they talk mess about me, but they love me. They say they hate me, but they love me because I'm making so much money for them. They paid. They paid. Trump said it, and not one person disputed him. So rich black folks, shut up about being anti-Trump if you don't reinvest every dime of the tax cut windfall back into the community. Shut your blood clot. Shut your pie holes. I don't want to hear no anti-Trump. If you're in the upper income tax bracket, if you're part of the 1%, don't tell me about how you're anti-Trump, because you're taking his money. And that money is stolen. All wealth is stolen. Profit is theft. Everybody talking about taxation is theft. Profit is theft. You heard me? Profit is theft. And all that talent, all that money, and you have no dignity. You have no respect. And what happens? Let me talk about, there's another angle to this. A day or two ago, there was a football player, a ball chaser on the Buffalo Bills team called Vontae Davis. He's been chasing ball for 10 years. Now, I had to look all this up. Because believe you me, I ain't never heard of no Devontae Davis until a day or two ago. I ain't know nothing. Maybe just yesterday. I know nothing. So I had to go look this dude up. And the reason I had to go look up this ball chaser, as opposed to any other ball chaser there is, what's a football player do? I know Odell Beckham, but I had never seen him play. I just know because he got the crazy hair. I don't know why he's standing. And then the dabber, the Uncle Tom dabber dude, started dressing funny. Dab on him. Who's the dabbing football player? I don't remember his name. I don't follow this stuff, man. But it was curious to me. I heard this story. I saw this headline as I was doing my work. And sometimes I go look at the headlines for the news feed. And it said, football player retires halfway through game. At halftime, homie went to the locker room and said, I retired. And his coach was like, boy, if you don't get back on that ball field, boy, if you don't get out there and turn them flips and do them tricks and chase that ball, boy, I'll tell you what. And he's like, no, I'm done. And I'm like, whoa, that's something. I've never heard of that before. Take this job and shove it. And so I was like, I just got to look into this. And of course, I'm thinking to myself, respect due. And when I read his statement, he said, I've been chasing this ball for 10 years. He didn't say, well, I'm putting it in my own words, but you can look it up online verbatim. It's a quite, in fact, the NFL published his statement. They tweeted it out and everything. If you follow the NFL on tweet, which you shouldn't be following the NFL, you shouldn't be watching none of this, because there's an NFL boycott. I say it should be a boycott in perpetuity, an absolute sanction, total permanent sanctions against all pro sports, but that's me. Come join me. Come stand in this corner with me. It's wonderful over here. We got some tofu. I had a little comment on tofu too. But anyway, Vontae Davis said, listen, my body is broken. I've been chasing this ball for 10 years. I've been fighting through injury. They've been drugging me. I get out there, get broken. They patch me back together, and then I get back out there. You know, I got a family. I got children. And I know how this league do. When they through with you, they throw you away. So I'm going to be through with them before they through with me. And I'm like, man, hey, glory, respect due. Now, officially, my favorite football player in the NFL is Vontae Davis. I would like for many other football players, ball chasers, whatever ball you chase, no matter the shape or size of the ball you chase, have a little dignity, put yourself, the preservation of your mental and physical health before the profits of these racist billionaires who own you. Middle finger to these contracts. Power. That's power. And he might not have institutional power, but the brother took some power over his own destiny. Now, hopefully, that will translate into something else, but usually these type of moves fade into obscurity. But respect. And you paid already. You've been there 10 years. I think his last contract, I looked up, it was for $5 million. You know, you come to the community, put down some investments, you know. That's you live a dignified life and still make a positive contribution to the just aspirations. And then when I saw this, I thought about a story I heard a week or two ago about a boxer. And it was these two gigantic brothers that were surrounded by white folks, and they was about to beat the crap out of each other like they did in those scenes in the Django. And the bell rang, ding, 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 and the brother turned around calmly with all dignity and poise and marched back to his locker room. Everybody, what is going on? What is this, some kind of publicity stunt? When I saw that, I didn't think nothing of it. It's like, everybody was like, that dude was scared, that dude was this, that dude was that. I'm like, I didn't see fear on his face. He didn't look afraid. You know, had kind of a look of determination, but I'm like, again, I don't follow ball chasing, but I don't follow no gladiator either. I just, and again, I'm not anti-sports. I love participating in sports, but just the politics and ideology around sports, it's dirty, man. It's just unclean. You know? It's like, you can like sex, but that don't mean you have to consume porn. I like sports, but I don't have to consume pro sports. And there's too much jingoism and too many Western values and Western militarist propaganda infused with sport. I can't get with it. But like I said, I'm a member of society. I'm a member of the hood. I'm in the community. So I decided to go. I'm like, wow, you know, you got black men, big, burly, ball-chasing black men. In our study group, we have a NFL Nubians for Literacy, our national book club. We're currently reading The $40 Million Slave. So, you know, sports is kind of like, I'm thinking about sports a lot more than I normally do. Pro sports, pro ball chasing. But anyway, this boxer named Curtis Harper, he's in the ring. And they ring the bell, and he's about to fight this brother. Man, this brother is cold-blooded. I saw a couple of highlight reels. This brother's just giving people brain damage. Nigerian boxer, Ajagba. And so he turns and rocks out of the ring. And so I go and look this dude up and find out he's been a pro fighter for 8 years. And he used to be a sparring partner with the current heavyweight champion of the world, Devontae Wilder. I don't mean to butcher his name. I ain't trying to spark no beef with him. But I don't care. But Devontae Wilder, which he's a coon. He's the kind of boxer they like. You know, like a anti-Ali. They love this minstrel. He just bash black folks' heads in and do goofy dances, and that's that. Brother. But hey, he getting money, so he's doing something right. He better than me. He got money, I don't. So That's the measure of humanity at this point. Even though white folks just print that money, I don't understand why we can't figure out this fiat hustle. But anyway, the brother, now the story behind the brother. Now, this Avante said that he's been having several injuries, been dealing with ongoing injuries, has been talking to his people, talking to his coaches, and like, look, I'm hurting. And they're like, get out there, take this drug, do whatever. And like I said, he understood that they'll run these athletes, and they think, out of the hundreds of thousands of black men destroying their bodies, and black women at this point destroying their bodies, only a small fraction of them make it to the pros. And then the small fraction of the pros actually become the Serenas, become the Money Mayweathers, become the Michael Jordans. Even the pros, many of the pros fade into obscurity, and most of their money gets is squandered on health. But a few of it, and then they throw them a bone. You have a great athlete that's broke, and they'll be like, okay, you can be an anchorman on ESPN. But you have a few Shaqs out there. But black folks, like I said, $1 in a dream. Black people are literally trying to stake the survival of our race and the well-being of our people on a lottery, on these microscopic chances. It is more than a 90% statistical fact that you, as a black person, you're going to die in the same class you were born into. If you were born poor, you're going to die poor. And if you're born black and rich, there's a higher statistical potential that you're going to die poor too. So it's likely that Michael Jordan and even Beyonce, even though Beyonce, they said that her children are going to be, Beyonce's great-grandkids might be in the welfare line next to my great-grandkids. Talking about how they remember their great-grandmother used to be somebody famous. But we keep playing this game. We keep believing these illusions. But anyway, this brother, HarperCollins, signed a contract for $6,000. Y'all think these boxers, they be fronting on us. So he signs a contract. He's what they call a journeyman fighter. He's one of the fighters that they're grooming to be the superstar, the big earners, the strong bucks, the gladiators that's going to get them paid the right way. He fights them so that they can, add some wins to their records. And everybody was like, yeah, he's very likely to lose. But, he'll get a little payday. So the dude was like, apparently, I didn't know this about boxing. Some fights are televised and some aren't. You get paid more for a televised fight than you do for a non. So, Curtis knew he was outclassed by this brother. This brother is a heavyweight champion contender, and he's just building up his wins so that he can I think they're going to throw him in a cage, in a box, to cockfight, to bulldog fight Devontae. And when they come to town, when they go to Vegas to beat each other to death, hide all the white women. Lock away your white women, white man, because Devontae and Ajaba. But anyway, I digress. I can't say that about Ajaba. I can't say that about. I don't really know their personal lives. I just know whenever Devontae speaks on politics, he's always way off. And I don't understand, once you get that money, you can't just you got all the time in the world, hire a tutor, sit down, watch a documentary. Damn, how you stay dumb? I don't mind you being dumb, because our education in our community ain't for nothing, but you ain't got to stay dumb. Anyway, he said, I'll do this fight for $6,000. It's a little, I know I'm going to lose. Nobody's counting on me to win, and I ain't going to Buster Douglas this thing. So, okay, it's a non-televised fight. I don't have to get beat up on TV. And then he shows up, and all the TV cameras are there, and they're televising the fight. And so then he's like, I need a hard copy of the contract. They didn't give him a hard copy of the contract he was signed. They lied about him, and they undersold him and lied to him so that they could give him a smaller purse than he was due. And he was only getting paid a fraction of what his opponent was, even though he was taking a much higher risk to himself. So he did it. He could have said, I'm not coming, but he's like, I'm going to go there to stage a protest. And now I read he's being booked. Now that he has his name, people know Curtis Harper now, when nobody knew he was just the opponent. Now, the next time he fights, because he took this stance, people actually want to see what he can do. People feel like they were robbed. They suspended him. He's on a temporary suspension of his fighting license. But once his license come back, I don't know if he's going to be winning or not, but he's definitely Definitely going to be able to ask for more money because he's a spectacle now. That's the guy that walked out on the fight. What's he going to do? Can he even fight? Was he a coward? Was he front? So now he's raised his cachet, taking a principled stand, demanding a level of self-respect for yourself, not letting these fools play you, not letting the institution that controls you to have full control over you, exerting some of your autonomy, has raised him. Now, I ain't saying that's always going to happen. Don't go to your job and dignifiedly walk when your supervisor don't. It don't always work, but hey, sometimes your dignity shouldn't be up for sale. Shouldn't be no price tag on it. So black people, we need power. We got a lot of talent. And we've got more money as a people than ever before. But that's an illusion of power. Serena Williams has no power. Right now, there are people sitting around the table after all the money and attention. Serena Williams has not just been a great tennis player. She has transformed tennis. She has opened up tennis, the continent of Africa, the inner city black America. Little brown girls all over the world. She is tennis. When she walks onto the court, they should bow down and kiss her Nikes. And they're sitting around, how long? We should fine her. We want to do a suspension. We're going to boycott her, treating her like dirt. Because all the power and all the money in the world does not, all the money and talent in the world does not directly lead to power. And it most assuredly don't get you respect. So we have to look beyond that. I ain't saying we shun money. I ain't saying we suppress our talent. But I'm saying we got to organize it and utilize it in a different way. Simply going into white institutions, whether that's the government, whether that's the pro tennis industry, whether that's the black community and local politics, it don't matter. We got to approach it differently. We got to remold. We got to rework this. We got to rethink this thing. And or how many times are we going to see Oprah accused of trying to steal a purse by some little white girl? Or see Dr. Dre splayed out on the hood of his car because a white man said he was talking sideways. He didn't like something Dr. Dre said. All these black people with immense talent who created industries. They haven't just contributed to industries, but created whole new industries, and we have no power. And it goes all the way back to the invention of the light bulb. Lewis Latterman came up with the tungsten filament, and he's the reason we have light bulbs in our house. Not because of Thomas Edison. But there's no light bulb industry for black people. Even the tungsten extraction, mining of tungsten. We don't have no say in none of that. All we got is a poster that we put up every February around schools. And I don't even know if they do that anymore. They used to do that when I was a kid. Lewis Latimer, Charles Drew, George Washington Carver, these pictures would go up. And these men who created industries, innovators, creators with all the talent. And some of them got paid. Some of them didn't even get paid. But even the ones that got paid, they have no power. They have no say. They have no control. And at any time, our oppressors can snap a finger and shut it all down. Freeze your accounts. The talent of being. We need institutional power. We need national power. We need military power. We need ideological cohesion. We need an African worldview, an African world social theory, an African agenda. We need to dismantle and stand in principled, ongoing, militant, unrelenting opposition to the systems, the institutions, and agendas of global white domination. It ain't that hard to figure out what should be done and what shouldn't be done. But we too busy celebrating our decorated, symbolic accomplishments. Superficial, symbolic wins. And your child says, I'm hungry. The police are harassing me. I'm losing my mind. My body is being contaminated. I'm being forced to take mind-altering drugs. I'm inhaling contaminants. I'm drinking lead-infused water. And our youth look at us, and what do we tell them? Well, I don't have any power to fix any of that. I don't even have a plan to fix it. So when I get the power, so we don't even have a plan for liberation. So when we get the resources for liberation, we don't know what to do with them. We open little boutique Nike store schools that look like Foot Lockers. We tell our children, well, I know you got all these issues, but look at how dignified Obama was. Obama was so much more articulate than Bush and Trump. What the hell are they going to do with that? Serena was, look at, Serena held all these trophies. What the hell are they going to do with that? Don't mean nothing. That made me think. When Kumo D really hurt my feelings. When he was the hottest rapper in town, he said, your shoes ain't nothing without the BK button. Like, well, how you gonna say my shoes ain't nothing? I was your fan. You dissing my shoes. Talent and Fiat ain't nothing without institutional power, without a liberation agenda. And I think we need to start calling this. We need to reduce. I don't give a damn how well you chase ball. I don't give a damn how many trophies and titles white folks bestow upon you. It doesn't matter. We need revolution. We need liberation. That requires power. And even if you don't love yourself and other black people enough, do it for the damn polar ice caps are melting. We got dozens of decaying nuclear power plants here in Illinois, all over the world, nuclear contamination, industrial fallout. I don't mind us being entertained. Some people try to shame us. I don't mind you getting entertained, getting your rocks off, whatever gets you off, get off. But just don't stay off. If you're going to watch somebody chase balls, fine. Don't go out and spend $100 on their shoes and their jerseys and then indoctrinate your children into following this same damn ball chasers. I mean, fall back. Take your leisure time. Your leisure time should be for rejuvenation so you can come back and work for the people. Why ain't we figured this out yet? What the hell am I missing? And guess what? White people figured it out before we did. You give black people the illusion of freedom, the illusion of dignity. You give them fiat currency. You allow some of their members of their race to elevate and to have the appearance that they have equal standing with us. They'll never be able to mobilize again. They'll never be a threat to us again. And white people in their national security memorandums, the U.S. government would always be like, black people are a threat. Well, they always had to think, if we do this, if we invade Vietnam, if we invade North Korea, if we do this action, we have to think about the black people in the United States. How are they going to respond? Because even though they're oppressed, even though they lack resources, they are a force. And when the black people in America move, you got a Black Panther chapter in Vietnam, you got a Black Panther chapter in South Africa. Black people are influencing, and you got black artists from Paul Robeson to Gil Scott-Heron to Bob Marley going all over the world, fomenting revolution. Black people, we were a legitimate threat. We didn't even have a nuclear bomb. We didn't have an aircraft carrier. But the Pentagon, the CIA, and the FBI said black people are one of the greatest threats to capitalism and U.S. imperialism in the world. And we lost that. We lost it. We gave it up. J. Edgar Hoover lost sleep at night. Little old Rosa Parks stepped to J. Hoover. And they were like, wait, if we just give them some money, turn on the printing, but had to somebody call the chief of the Federal Reserve. Tell them to print a few extra bushels of that paper money that's not backed by literally nothing, by your faith and belief in it. And distribute it, sprinkle it around the ghetto. Let's get rid of principled leaders and replace them with compromised leaders that have the same militant rhetoric but ain't about to do a damn thing, but try to amass more fiat. B.F. Skinner, Beyond Freedom and Dignity. That book is the blueprint for dismantling the black liberation struggle. And not only do we not have a black militant liberation struggle, black liberation army, Black Panther Party for self-defense, we ain't even got functional integrationist Negro institutions anymore. Even the Negro colleges, Howard universities, are dysfunctional and backwards. We can't even do wrong right anymore. We can't even do integration effectively anymore. Even the little minor reforms of affirmative action and little Pell Grants and minority sponsorships and a minority scholar. We even losing that little bit. We losing the tokens. We can't even keep the tokens. But yet we got more rich black people, more authoritative black people, more black people in high places. We got more black doctors than ever. And then you saw that thing where they were sharing that picture of all those sexy young black doctors while black people are dying quicker of chronic incurable diseases than anybody else. Who gives a damn if we got a million sexy black doctors when they can't help us with our health and wellness? We got more black MBAs on the face of the earth now than any time in history, and we got fewer black businesses. We got more black cops, black lawyers, judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, CEOs, prison wardens. We got more black people embedded in the criminal justice system, black chiefs of police, black state's attorneys, and yet we get more state repression, more mass incarceration, more execution, unlawful execution, and lawful, quote-unquote, lawful execution than ever. Who gives a damn with all these black people with all this goddamn talent and all these wonderful positions, making all this wonderful money, and our condition is eroding. We are regressing as a people. And people telling me I don't have a right to even speak on, how dare I say LeBron James' name. Here's a black man who trickled down some money. So you can't even critique it. You can't even evaluate it. And that Lord knows, if you know anything about the not-for-profit industry, every not-for-profit must be critiqued and evaluated. Every year, they have to submit their and let me tell you something else. That's a public school. I'm part of the public, the community, the parents, the residents, the people should be looking at that through everything. All of these states, we should be watching everything with a critical eye. It is a subhuman position to say you don't question things, you don't watch things. Where the hell does that come from? We need to stop being satisfied with the illusion of power, symbols of power, fake integration. Or even real integration. Maybe I should be a proponent of fake integration instead of, because the only thing worse than fake ass integration is real integration. Anyway, this is the Bro Diallo Show, Q4 Radio, AM 1680. Shout out to Q4. You can find this show archived at diallokenyatta.com. You can listen live to my show every Wednesday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and every Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's my extended show. This is Q4.org. You can find Q4 Radio on the TuneIn app, iTunes Radio, and AM 1680. You can find me at diallokenyatta.com. You can also find me at Diallo Kenyatta across social media, my blog, on Tumblr, my Twitter account. As I advocate for revolution, as I try to implement revolution, I want to share more information about our Nubians for literacy. Also, but all of that's going to be moot if I can't stay on the air. So please go to Patreon, check it out. I got some compensation, some offerings and rewards, and I promise you to stay on top of sending those things out from here in perpetuity. Friday, we're going to talk about the 1992 Year of the Woman. How feminist revolution, feminist change, women's elevation in the system has benefited black women, and as you benefit, and as many sociologists and honest anthropologists say, if you want to uplift the people, you have to uplift the women. Let's see how this woman uplifts when women come to power in the patriarchal system. So we're going to talk about that and some other things from the Bro Diallo Show. Thank you for listening. Sorry about the hookup, the dead air earlier. It won't happen again, and if it does happen again, I apologize ahead of time for that. Bro Diallo Show, Q4 Radio. See y'all tomorrow.